Hello, welcome back to Blake's Den. It is a lovely bank holiday Monday, so tipping with rain, pretty standard. So best thing to do is to do some work on the Mini. So one thing I want to look at today is this corner of the floor down here. Let me just shed some light on that. So I did a bit of picking and found some big holes. So you can see we've actually got two surfaces here. We've got, this is the boot floor, and we've got this strengthening plate here. So my plan is, I'm going to cut out a big chunk of this floor, put a new bit in, largely like I did on the other side, and then for that strengthening plate, I'm actually going to fix that from below. So I've just cut the corner off. This plate, sort of closure plate, doesn't look too bad. Obviously you've got the big hole there, so I'm going to get that patched up. So let's get started. So I've made a rough chalk mark where I want to cut there. So basically following up that line there and probably going diagonal across, because there's a sort of a hole there. And then I'm not sure if you can see, but there's a couple of pinholes that if I take the torch, shine it below, you can, so yeah, ignore the bottom ones, that's where I cut it when I welding, but there's a pinhole there. So I'll see whether I can pick that up as well at the same time when I'm cutting it out. To cut it out, I'm going to use my air saw just because it's a bit more flexible really, and for getting into the tight corners, I just think it's a better tool for the job. So that is cut out there now, quite a big hole. That's what's left of it. If I was to recommend, the best tool to use on a Mini restoration would be a dustpan and brush, because you'd be amazed at how much stuff comes off it. Well, there's two things you need really, dustpan and brush and a radio. You don't often hear the radio going in the background because you get into all manner of copyright issues with YouTube if you've got music playing. Anyway, I digress. So that needs a bit more cleaning up. And to do that, I'm going to use this strip and clean wheel, which is like this fiberglassy, I don't know what, composite, I'm not sure what it is really. I've only just discovered them, but wow, they're good. All that was like done by it, and it just takes all the paint off. In fact, I had a bit of a play around on the battery box as well, and it's just like amazing, hardly any effort, and it seems to clean up all the rust immediately. So I'm going to see if I can get in there and get that all cleaned up, and then we'll get a template made. So it turns out I couldn't get the cleaning disc in there, so I thought I'd give you a demonstration there. And you saw how fast it cleaned that rust back, so pretty good. Right, I've got that probably as clean as I can for now. It needs a bit more before welding. I used a combination of that, and a bit of emery paper, which is missing in action somewhere. Okay, so I want to make a template now. So I'm going to get myself some card, start marking that out, get the shape ready for cutting that out with a bit of 0.8 Zintec. Just thought I'd show that process I went through to make a template. So I started off with paper. It was an invoice for some mini spares. See, they do come in useful. Dropped that in there, got it the rough shape I wanted, trimming it. If you can rub the edges with your fingers as well, it transfers the dirt through, and then you can sort of find the edges quite easy. I then transferred that to a bit of card, and we're just tweaking that bit of card and making it fit. And I've still managed to leave it a bit short up there. So I've now got something I'm fairly happy with there. So now I'm going to transfer that over to a piece of steel, 0.8 mil Zintec. I need to make sure that edge is a bit longer and squarer, and then we'll see how that fits. With this 0.8 Zintec, I find the easiest way to cut it is actually just using some tin snips. So I got these tin snips off an old engineer who used to be my neighbour many years ago. And these are probably older than me by, I'd say, a considerable number of years. They're beautifully sharp, and yeah, they're cut really well through this Zintec. My neighbour used to have a Comma PB camper van. Yeah, they're quite cool. I'd love to have one now. So these tools were probably used on that Comma to do some repairs, and now they've been used on the Mini, so I think that's quite good. Right, I'm going to continue cutting this out, and then you can join me when it's finished. So we've had all trimmed and a few extra little bits trimmed off. I'm quite happy with that. It's a good fit. Fits all around quite well. I'm having to press down on it because otherwise it just springs up. A little bit of work to do that corner, just hammer it in. Yeah, happy with that. So before I weld it in, or even think about welding it in, I'm going to rust treat all this with a rust converter. I'm also going to do the underside as well. I might find it easier to weld it from the underside. It would certainly look for a smoother repair. I did the underside on that weld. This side's less critical because you've got the fuel tank here and the light, you don't really see it much, but I still want it to look half decent. So, right, I'll get the rust converter on it. So to kill the rust, I use this Bilthammer Hydrate 80. I just decant some into this. It's actually a Hammerite rust remover stuff pot, but it was a handy pot, so use that, paint it on, and it sort of goes a black colour after it starts killing the rust. So yeah, we'll just start and just paint it on. So you should get rid of all the loose stuff first, but I didn't. Yeah, paint that on liberally, and I'll do that top and bottom, and if I've got some spare I'll just do the other bits like around here. So, right, that'll take a little bit to dry, so you'll have to come back later. So it's now several days later. Just haven't had a chance to get in the garage really to do anything. All that rust treating stuff has gone off. It's gone all black and horrible. And I've just shot some weld through primer over those edges which are going to be sealed in. So my plan is now, once my plate's in position, I am going to just tack that in from above, sort of along that edge and along that top edge, and then I'll weld it from below just for extra neatness. Probably a bit overkill. I could weld it from above and you probably wouldn't see because of the fuel tank, but I just want to make it look as neat as I can. And a few minutes later, that's done. So I ended up running just a bead along there just to help it hold it, and another bead along by the wheel arch. But you can see where I've welded it from below. So that's all pretty smooth. That'll all clean back. And then from below, yeah, I had some good welds actually. I had some not so good welds as well, but key thing is it's solid. Probably a little bit to tidy up around there. So that's where I think there's actual little ripple in the floor just under there. So I'm probably going to hammer that down into shape a bit more. Probably put another little seal of weld along there. Right, get that all cleaned up now, and then we can get it sealed. Several days later again. I just haven't been able to get in the garage due to work and life and everything. It's still raining. And yeah, I decided to have a bit of a poke this morning. Just a little soft patch around here. So you probably can't tell, but there was some previous accident damage here. So the previous owner told me the car had taken a bump on this side. And there's some rippling in the floor. To be honest, I was going to leave it because it's part of the history of the car. Anyway, but it's obviously gone a bit thin in places. And as I've sort of poked, yeah, it's a bit soft, so another patch required there. So I think what I'll probably just do, I'll square that off into a nice shape, cut a patch just like I did before, and fit that in. Great. I've just cracked on and done this. I didn't really film the intermediate stages because it wasn't very exciting. So if I just unclip that, what I've done is I've got a plate, 0.8 Zintec, just like the other plate I put in. Made it the same way, cardboard template, etc. And before that I just opened that up to a nice size. So what I've actually done, I've joggled this plate. So it's got a small step in it. And the idea is that'll then go in there. The inner bit will be sort of level with the boot floor. And then the outer edge, I'll put stamp holes in it and I'll plug weld that on. And my idea of doing that was basically I didn't want to just weld that plate in there because it's on quite a piece of a floor, of a boot floor, you're going to see quite often. I know probably the boot carpeting or something, but it needs to look a bit better. So the idea of doing it that way is I can get all the strength around the edge to weld it, and then I can just skim it with filler or skim it with sealant or something to just get it a bit more flush. So that's the theory anyway. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to punch my holes around the edges, and I'm actually going to put a couple of just self-tapping screws in, just to hold it in to try and get it as flush as I can and see how it feels, and do some minor adjustments with a hammer if necessary. So I'll come back after I've done that. So that is the plate in place. So self-tapping screw there, self-tapping screw there, 3 clamps on the front. So what that looks like from underneath, it's still not perfect. You know, there's quite big gaps underneath, but I can hammer those into place for welding. More interesting what it looks like up here. So tiniest little step there. You can sort of just hear as I rub my finger over. So I've just been going around with the hammer and the pry bar and just locally hammering it down in places. And yeah, I'm fairly happy with that. So I think a bit more hammering from below, and then I will weld this into place. I'll spray underneath with weld through primer. I'll put it back on. I'll put my self-tapping screws in again to hold it. Might put a third one in over here possibly. And then when I get round to welding, plug welding those, obviously I'll just take the screw out, fill it full of weld, and hopefully that'll be no hole on this side. So yeah, okay, let's get on and do that. Really pleased how that's worked out actually. Probably doesn't look great on video, but that is super smooth. A few little lips, I've just gone around for grinding and just tickled it back slightly. So I'm going to seam seal all the way around there, just a really thin, a bit dodgy bit there, thin bit of seam seal around there, just to smooth it all out, blend it in. From underneath, very sort of chunky and messy. I'm going to seam seal all of that. These welds here will need grinding down fully for when I put the valance on. There's quite a lot of work I need to do about unpicking all the way along here, all the bits of valance which is still on there. So got all of that still to do, but yeah, for now I'm going to seam seal it, paint it, and then we're done. So that's all sealed up. It's been about 3 hours since I sealed it, so still a tiny bit tacky. For some reason I just did that whole panel bit I put in, not sure why. Did the edges of that, also did the underside. So you can just see a small lip there. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put a load of paint on and see how that looks after I've painted it. Hopefully it'll be a pretty seamless repair. That is all painted now. So that is with the Bonder Rust Primer. It's like your red oxide type paint. And well, it's all wet, but I think I've done not a bad job there. You know, it's not very clear to where it is, and even if it is a bit clear after it dries, a tiny bit of sort of fine filler, I reckon, or high build primer will probably do the job. Fantastic. That's a bit of a win. It took me ages to do that bit, just struggling to get in the garage and do stuff. So I haven't gone too wild. I still need to strip off all of that boot and sort of paint it, and likewise underneath. You can't see very well, but the whole boot floor needs cleaning anyway. So I think I'll leave it there. So as usual, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I really enjoy that interaction I have between you viewers. Not sure what I'm going to do in the next video. I was going to put the valance on, but one of you kindly pointed out to me it's probably easier to put the subframe on first and then put the valance on afterwards. I haven't even bought the new subframe yet. So I think what I'll probably end up doing is prepping the boot floor, strip it all back, prime it, get some sort of hardware and paint on it or something like that. And then I'll think about the subframe. So yeah, we'll leave it there. So thank you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.